What is going on, my brodies? It is Andrew Rapier here of Beat It AT Production and Publishing, bringing you guys a new YouTube video. In this YouTube video, we're going to be doing a mixing and mastering tutorial. Hopefully it won't take too long, but we are starting from scratch. I got this beat from a beat session that Tony did, so I'm kind of diving right into this with not much of an idea of where I'm going at, because I didn't even make this beat. Tony did. So I guess I might as well I already know, just to get started, because we don't know what this sounds like. So I guess I would call this how to mix and master a track when you don't know what it sounds like. I'm gonna grab all my instruments and I'm just gonna pull them down halfway, just because it's probably gonna be pretty loud. Ignore the sample stuff. We have sample manipulation mostly. Oh, I should probably turn this stuff off. I'll turn that off for now, because he has some automation clips that I don't know what they are too. And we'll turn off that, and that. We'll come back to that stuff later. But everything else should be off. And this is just for our producer tag. And I'm going to start editing looking at my EQ and seeing what's going on here. So I know this is going to be going on when I got the bass. So I already know that sub is going to be crazy loud. Which, by the way, that sub was crazy loud. I think that's it. But like, it's gonna be fighting in that low range, and I don't want to fight for that low range at all. So we're gonna EQ that out. Do a little bit of boost right there, and then do more of a boost in the high, just because the high is gonna add a little bit more character. It's just how I like to do it. And I like to add my effects, like my EQ, my compressor, and all that such onto my video. I mean, onto my channel rack while I'm getting mixing right. So I'm gonna get this guitar in, do a little bit stereo. So with this guitar, I'm gonna turn on this EQ. So it looks like this is not something Tony was using. Neither was this reverb. Does he have? Interesting. I'll come back to that later. That's an interesting little thing he was trying there. So I'm gonna turn on this vinyl thing, but then I'm gonna insert an actual EQ. Why is that so destroyed? That seems like that got rid of our clipping, it seemed like. I'm gonna make it into 1960s, add some wear to it. Then I'm gonna add some natural reverb. I'm getting that little texture by doing that. Then let's do a little bit of compression, just a little bit. Oh man, we're getting a lot of little snapping and crackling. I do not like that. We're gonna pull that compressor up. Pull that compressor up. Alright, so now I'm gonna get this bass line. Pull that bass line down. Let's see if we can edit these audio settings real quick. I like to have my bass line just a little bit under that, so it seems like it's working a little bit better. So he has these closed little ripples. So do a little bit of a boost in that high. Get rid of that low. There's not a lot. There's not a lot for that low to be even in there, so it doesn't matter so much. So I'm cutting it because there's not much it's doing anyways. It's kind of a sense of, let's get to that bass line real quick. I'm really scatterbrained with how I do my mixing, so I apologize if this is all over the place. But grab this bass. That's a nice little grit right in there, that little sub. If we had a little bit of texture up in that mid, because we're going to get that treble. I mean, the mid's closer to the treble, so it's going to have more of the transient and more of the actual character of the sound. Where in the sub, we get more of the feeling. The, low frequencies that get you moving and growling and going through the track. So I like that. I'd like to do stereo, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do a little bit more stereo with the guitar. Let's see what presets they got. We might just try something in here.
Beat It AT, what up? 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 Beat It AT, what up?
I kind of like that. It kind of like dwindles down. Definitely need to pull down that producer tag. Get the compressor.
Beat It AT, what up? 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 Beat It AT, what up?
I don't need to do too much compression on this hi-hat. So we're good on that. So we can move on to the next section, which would be right here. So what do we got in here? So I definitely want to move that down, which I would like. Snares, we're gonna compress it, add more grit. I'm gonna add one EQ real quick. Gonna pull down that guitar a bit. Gonna mute it real quick just because I don't want to hear it, because it's been looping. So it adds a little bit of texture right there. I'm thinking about if we get distortion, but we're gonna be calm with it. Real quick. Do a pretty harsh one with the high ratio. pretty fast. Add a little bit. That's a lot of reverb, but we're gonna cool it down. So just create a little bit of an atmosphere. Pull down that bass. Pull it down. Alright, cool. So now with this kick, I like to do this new little thing I've been trying. So I'm gonna grab an EQ real quick. I like to do this little boost. So that's a nice little boost because the low mid is gonna add that upper like bass, and then that lower bass, it's gonna add more of that sub. But then what I've been doing is weird. You guys are gonna kind of laugh at me, but trust me, just bear with me. Just don't. You guys are gonna hear this kick and you're gonna be like, damn, that actually hits hard. Now, yeah, got all the sound goodizer. Laugh at me. Need a little bit of a distortion. I'm gonna pull that mix about halfway. You guys are gonna see the madness in a bit. Just bear with me. So adding a distortion on top of the sound goodizer. Gonna move it up so it's EQ, distortion, sound goodizer. Now I'm gonna grab a Maximus. This is a lot. An EQ and just a limiter just for backup. So I'm not gonna do anything with this limiter, nor am I gonna do anything with the Maximus. But with this EQ, I might do a mid EQ. Yeah, now listen to that kick. Now we take everything off. Just that EQ, a little bit better. But now when we add all that other stuff, really just this, because this hasn't done anything with the EQ yet. If we turn off the Maximus, doesn't do anything. This is just keeping this from just going too much, and then this one I'm gonna do an EQ, and this limiter is gonna keep me from peaking as of right now, but I'm gonna pull it back, pull the EQ down. The goal is I don't need this limiter after, because essentially what could happen is if I EQ, I do a gain, now it's shooting way up, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna pull it down. So I can pull it down. I'm gonna pull this down just a bit. Now those drums and the mix just hits real nice and hard. Now I feel like I can go into the other drums and have a good mix. Because usually my kick and snare are my focal point. The snare is gonna keep that sound, the texture, because the snare has actual upper transient, whereas the kick gives you the live because it's pumping through. So kind of a weird way of putting that through, but I want to get a little bit lower. I don't want to focus on that high so much, so I'm gonna pull it down a little bit. I want that to be in the back a little bit more, and I'm gonna gain EQ and make it a little bit more dusty by pulling down that treble. Kind of create a bandpass, kind of creating a weak bandpass filter by dipping down. And if you guys want to learn more about music production, get better, I put the link down in the description. I actually have 2 online courses, a Udemy course that I don't teach anymore, but all the content is up there. It's still a good course and it's really cheap. But then I got a new course over at Odular that I promote down in the description down below. And that course, is a whole lot better. It's I put out more content. I'm in tune with you guys. I'm able to contact you guys. I got you guys on the email list. So it's a great way to get in tune and just make a whole lot of, learn to make a whole lot better beats and get kind of feedback. It's my own course. I run it. So yeah. But continuing on, I'm going to add some reverb over to this low hi-hat, just to add a little bit more ambience, I guess you would say. Stereo separation, pulling up that high cut. Going to pull it down a lot. So I'm liking this a whole lot more now with that guitar. Now with our 808. I'm going to make it go mono. This is a sub. I'm thinking about if we add a little bit of a distortion to it. Very, very, very slight. So pull down that mix. Like something like that. Add a little bit of a compressor. Pull it down. It won't be like too harsh, but just adding a little bit more meat to it. Now an EQ again. Because this is going to be a sub, so I'm not too worried. Let's actually reset. Yeah, we can keep it mono, it doesn't matter. So let's pull up our instrument elements just a little bit. So this remains the same, but we see a little bit change in here. So I'm going to pull this down. We're going to keep this on. Keep this on. These are some things Tony got. Now I'm going to pull in the limiter just so we could get smashed down a little bit so it's not going so wild. Now on top of that, I'm gonna grab a vinyl effect, the isotope vinyl. Go for like a 1970, 60. A little bit of wear. Down. So it's not so up front. Get a little bit of reverb more. Do a bit of a stereo separation. You gotta be careful sometimes with the stereo separation because it can sometimes not come out through the speakers like how you want it to. So if you're not like in a club environment, so I would only do the stereo separation when you got more of like tracks that aren't gonna be, oh, how do I say, like in that mono club environment, because mono isn't gonna pick up your split stereo, or it won't as much, at least. Pull down that cell a little bit. This sample's pretty good where it's at. So just a little bit stereo separation, reverb. This kind of pretty much just a this was already done, just like an old telephone effect, which Tony did this. I don't want to change it because it's part of the aesthetic of the sample. So all I did was pull it down right here and it worked pretty well. Maybe a little bit more. I'm gonna start doing some stuff in the master just to see what I'm looking like. Sometimes the visual representation can show you, can give you an idea of what's all being used. Well, it's the one that I like. Wave Candy is usually the one that's pretty good. Spectro. There we go. So let's move the wave candy down at the end. Move up. Because I don't want to do unnecessary like gaining where it's going to start clipping just absurdly. One thing I like to do is get a sound goodizer, but just have like it a little bit, just for a flare, or just tiny bit. That's for the master. Not doing a whole bunch for this one. It's a pretty full beat, or close to. I would probably add more stuff to this beat, but it's still pretty good. Let's hurry, get going and try to get this closer to done. I like to use we're gonna probably start getting some more clipping, because I like to use waves for mastering. They got some good mastering stuff. I'm gonna use the J37 stereo. I've been using this a lot lately, but I always switch up my mastering stuff. I like to just add a little bit of saturation, just about 1, maybe 1.1. It does just the most slightest effect. I don't know if most people probably won't hear it, but it just brings out some of the elements. It helps more when you got vocals, just parts of the it saturates more of the upper end of I guess you would call the hertz range, where I feel like it adds a little bit more treble and comes up a little bit more. I think the different speeds can make certain elements of the sound be pushed up a little bit over others, so like your snare may sound a little bit above than what it did prior. So if you guys want to hear it, and then without it, with it. Very slight, if you could even say that. Then we're gonna get waves again. Pull up. Oh, what should we get? I like to, at this point, I'll get the multi maximizer, because then we get a look at the multi-band frequency range, and I get a pretty much max it out. So that sounds pretty dull. Sometimes these transients can get really sharp. So we're getting some clipping, but it's besides the point. We're starting to get some of this because of that J37 and our L3 coming in, so it's using up more. Now normally whenever I pull this down, I try to go for between like a 2 dB, negative 2, or a 3 dB negative 2 tension. So and I try to work when I'm mastering, and this is just a quick run through. You could spend a long time trying to learn how to mix and master, but this way, when I do this, I'm trying to get in the most loudest sections of my beat or song, just because if I'm working in the most quiet, well, clearly when I go from the most quiet to then the loudest, if I'm mastering on the basis of the most quiet part, that loud part's gonna be so fucking loud, and I'm probably not wanting that. So I'm usually working from the loudest and then kind of touching and going into the quiet region and seeing how quiet it is. Then I might make adjustments to my mix levels, and then from there I would just create around master for everything, a round estimate. But so we're getting a lot of clipping, so I'm gonna probably wrap it up. This is a pretty good foundation on getting you guys ready to mix and master your beats. So if this is your first time mixing or mastering someone else's project, or if this is your first step in getting to mixing and mastering your own, I know I didn't touch on a lot of the beginner stuff and maybe the exact reasons why I was cutting, or what the cut of an EQ is doing, but these are all questions I've answered before in my YouTube videos, which you guys can check out on my YouTube channel, Beat It AT TV, or you could go and check out and sign up for my online course, Andrew Repair, which I got over at Odular. The link is down in the description down below. But in that course, there's videos, modules, and a whole bunch more set up for you guys to look through in order to get an idea of like, oh, how do I mix and master? Oh, this does this. Oh, this does that. This is what a compressor is. This is what an EQ is. Now, of course, I got that all over on the YouTube channel, but if you guys want to learn music production more so and get more in-depth details and understanding on how things work, probably a better platform there. But needless to say, I'm going to cut off my mic and playlist and hope that we don't get too much clipping. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys stuck around and watched the video. Hopefully it was beneficial. Leave a comment on what you thought. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Adios, guys.
Beat It AT, what up? Beat It AT, what up? Beat It AT, what up?